and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, and concordant body members, I'd like to welcome you to the 95th installation of Escalon Lodge number 591's officers for 2018. This evening, we will be having our chaplain. It's Gabe Garanfano. Master of Ceremonies will be Worshipful Doug Alcorn, Past Master. Installing Officer, Worshipful Dave Daly, Past Master. Thank you.
Brother Master of Ceremonies, are the officers of this lodge lately chosen, present, and ready to be installed in their respective offices?
They are worshipfully served and waiting your favor.
You will then conduct them to the seats prepared for them.
Just straight up. Yeah. It's the one that brings them around and then you go. Yeah. There's some that turn back so they can hit there. Just right there. On that side.
In accordance with the teachings of our institution, it is our duty before entering upon any great or important undertaking to invoke the aid and blessing of God. Let us therefore reverently unite with our chaplain in an address to the throne of grace.
Great architect and ruler of the universe, we reverently invoke thy blessing at this time. Grant us thine aid in our present undertaking, that all we may do shall be done with an eye single to thy service and to the good of Freemasonry. May those who are now about to be invested with the government and conduct of this lodge be endued with wisdom to instruct their brethren in their duties, and may they be continually guided by the unerring counsel which thou hast given in the great book of nature and revelation. May brotherly love, relief, and truth always prevail among the members of this lodge. May they be impressed with a comprehension of their duty to thee and to each other, that this lodge may be the means of lasting good in this community. And to thee we shall ascribe all the honor and glory. Amen.
So will it be.
At this time, the flag of our country will be presented by Rory and Aiden Stewart. Please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
born of Bab and is a symbol of the strength of our country. She is all at once a symbol of peace and power. She is ready to defend what is hers. She has white stripes to represent the purity of sacrifice. She has red stripes to represent the cost of freedom. She has blue She has blue in her union to remind all of us that our loyalty is her lifeblood. She waves in the wind to remind us she is there for us when we need her. She sits high atop the flagpole, above all others, to remind us of our might. Sometimes she only sits halfway up to comfort us in the dark night. When I see her, I am always reminded she stands by me no matter what. Some will ignore her, some will scorn her, some will burn her. But she represents all we have done, all we have and can become. And she rises again like the sun of hope over our land. She is fearless. God bless America, God bless our land, and God bless our flag.
Are the officers of this lodge lately chosen present and ready to be installed in their respective offices?
They are, worshipful sir.
You will then present the brother who has been appointed Tyler of this lodge.
Worshipful sir, I present to you for installation Brother Ples Dew, who is appointed Tyler of this lodge.
Brother Dew, you have been appointed Tyler of this lodge, and you will now be invested with the jewel and implement of your office. As the sword is placed in the hands of the Tyler to enable him effectually to guard against the approach of cowans and eavesdroppers, and suffer none to pass or repass, except such as are duly qualified, so should it admonish us to set a guard over our thoughts, a watch at our lips, and post a sentinel over our actions, thereby preventing the approach of every unworthy thought and deed, and preserving consciences void of offense toward God and man. You will now repair to your proper place. Master of Ceremonies, you will present the senior and junior stewards.
I present to you for installation Brother Hedges and Shannon, who have been appointed junior and junior stewards of this lodge.
My brothers, you have been appointed stewards of this lodge, and I will now instruct you in your duties. In olden times, your province was to superintend and provide for the festivals of the craft, to assist in the collection of dues and subscriptions, to keep an account of the expenses for refreshments, and to see the tables properly supplied and every brother suitably provided for. In modern times, however, the provision for actual refreshment has diminished. And your duties now will be to prepare candidates for admission and to perform those duties which Masonic custom has assigned to you on days of procession. Receive the jewels of your office. Together with the white rods. You will now repair to your respective places. For the Master of Ceremonies, you will present the Marshal.
Sir, I present to you for installation Brother Bosch, who has been appointed Marshal of this lodge.
Brother Bosch, you have been appointed Marshal of this lodge, and you will now be invested with the jewel and symbol of your office. The baton is an emblem of command and is sufficiently significant of your duties. You will, under the direction of the Master, take charge of all the processions of this lodge, and you are enjoined that the proper performance of many of our ceremonies will depend upon the manner in which your duties are discharged. You will now take your proper place. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will present the senior and junior deacons.
Worshipful sir, Worshipful sir, I present to you for installation Brother Brown and James, who have been appointed senior and junior deacon of this lodge. This certificate vouches for the proficiency of the senior deacon.
Brothers Brown and James, you have been appointed deacons of this lodge, and you will now be invested with the jewels of your office. Those jewels indicate that it is your province to attend upon the master and wardens and act as their proxies in the active duties of this lodge. It will be your especial duty, brother senior deacon, to carry orders from the worshipful master in the east to the senior warden in the west, and elsewhere about the lodge as required. Attend to all alarms at the door of the preparation room. Receive and conduct candidates. Introduce and accommodate visiting brethren. You, brother junior deacon, to carry messages from the senior warden in the west to the junior in the south and elsewhere about the lodge as directed. Attend to all alarms at the door and see the lodge duly tiled. Those rods, my brother, distinctive of your office, will now be entrusted to your care. And now, believing from your past deportment in the lodge that your duties will be discharged with ability and zeal, I dismiss you to your respective places. And now it is time for the Escalon Shuffle, so just wait. We'll just do this as we are. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will present the secretary-elect for installation.
Worshipful sir, I take pleasure in presenting to you Worshipful Doug Alcorn, who has been elected secretary of Escalon Lodge number 591.
Brother Alcorn, you have been elected secretary of this lodge, and you will now be invested with the jewel of your office. I am persuaded that in your hands the pens will make an enduring record, not only to your praise, but to the welfare of this lodge. It is your duty to observe the will and pleasure of the worshipful master. Keep a faithful record of all things proper to be written. Transmit a copy of the same to Grand Lodge when required. Receive all monies from the brethren. Pay the same to the treasurer and take his receipt, therefore. You will now take your proper place. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will present the treasurer-elect.
Worshipful sir, I present to you for installation Brother Stanton, who has been elected as trailer of this lodge.
Brother Stanton, you have been elected treasurer of this lodge, and you will now be invested with the jewel of your office. The keys have a twofold significance. They are instruments to bind as well as to make loose, to make fast as well as to open. They will never, I am confident, be used by you in any other manner than that in which the constitutions, laws, and regulations of the lodge shall direct. You are to receive all money from the secretary. Excuse me. Keep a just and accurate account thereof. Pay the same out by order of the worshipful master with the consent of the lodge. You will now take your proper place. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will present the junior warden-elect.
Worshipful Sir, I present to you for installation Brother Matthew Dew, who has been elected the junior warden of this lodge. This proficiency vouches for his proficiency. This certificate vouches for his proficiency. Oops, I have the other one there. Please. Thank you.
Brother Dew, you have been elected junior warden of this lodge, and you will now be invested with the jewel of your station. The plumb, my brother, admonishes us to walk uprightly in our several stations, to hold the scales of justice in equal poise, to observe the just medium between intemperance and pleasure, and to make our passions and prejudices coincide with the line of our duty. To you is committed the superintendence of the craft during the hours of refreshment. It is necessary, therefore, that you should practice moderation and discretion in the indulgence of your own inclinations, and that you carefully observe that the means of refreshment are not converted to improper or excessive use. Your regular and punctual attendance is particularly requested, and I have no doubt that you will faithfully execute the duty which you owe to your present appointment. Look well to the south. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will present the senior warden-elect.
Worshipful Sir, I present to you for installation Brother Dunn, who has been elected to serve as senior warden of this lodge.
Do you find him of good morals, true and trusty, and does he possess the love and confidence of his brethren?
He does, Worshipful Sir, this certificate vouching for his proficiency.
Brother Dunn, you have been elected senior warden of this lodge, and you will now be invested with the jewel of your station. The level, my brother, demonstrates that we are all descended from the same stock, that we partake of the same nature, and share the same hope, and that although distinctions among men are necessary to preserve subordination, yet no eminence of station should make us forget that we are brethren. For he who is placed on the lowest spoke of fortune's wheel may be entitled to our regard. Because a time will come, and the wisest know not how soon, when all distinction, save that of goodness, shall cease, and death, the mighty leveler of human greatness, reduce us all to the same state. Your regular attendance at our stated meetings is essential. In the absence of the master, you are to govern the lodge. In his presence, you are to assist him in the government of it. I firmly rely on your knowledge of masonry and attachment to the lodge for the faithful discharge of the duties of this important trust. Look well to the west. Brother Master of Ceremonies, You will now present the brother who has been elected to discharge the important duties of master of this lodge.
Worshipful sir, I present to you for installation Brother Slater, who has been elected to serve the master of this lodge.
Is it known that Brother Stewart is well skilled in our ancient craft? Is he zealous in his regard for the interests of our order? And is he duly qualified to discharge the special duties of the master's chair?
It is, worshipful sir. The certificate vouches for his proficiency.
I don't think they got your name right. But I'm going to let it slide this one time. It just says 29. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, cool.
Worshipful sir, the brethren of this lodge, reposing confidence in your integrity, in your zealous regard for the interests of Masonry, and in your ability to discharge the duties of the master's chair, have chosen you to occupy this honorable position during the ensuing year. Are you willing to accept this important trust?
I am.
Then, my brother, I shall most cheerfully proceed to install you in the dignified and honorable position to which the suffrage of your brethren has called you, not doubting that the dignity of the Oriental chair will be well preserved in your keeping, and that the interest and welfare of this lodge will be safely confided to your charge. Before commencing your investiture, however, it is necessary that you should signify your assent to those ancient charges and regulations which point out the duties of the master of a lodge, and which on no account are ever to be neglected or departed from. They are as follows. You agree to be a good man and true, and strictly to obey the moral law. You agree to be a peaceable citizen, and cheerfully to conform to the laws of the country in which you reside. You promise not to be concerned in plots and conspiracies against government, but patiently to submit to the decision of the Supreme Legislature. You agree to pay a proper respect to the civil magistrate, to work diligently, live creditably, and act honorably to all men. You agree to hold in veneration the original rulers and patrons of the Order of Masonry, and their regular successors, supreme and subordinate according to their stations, and to submit to the awards and resolutions of your brethren when convened, in every case consistent with the constitutions of the order. You agree to avoid private piques and quarrels, and to guard against intemperance and excess. You agree to be cautious in carriage and behavior, courteous to your brethren, and faithful to your lodge. You promise to respect genuine brethren, and to discountenance impostors and all dissenters from the original plan of Masonry. You agree to promote the general good of society, to cultivate the social virtues, and to propagate the knowledge of the art. You promise to pay homage to the Grand Master for the time being, and to his officers when duly installed, and strictly to conform to every edict of the Grand Lodge or General Assembly of Masons that is not subversive to the principles and groundwork of Masonry. You admit that it is not in the power of any man or body of men to make innovations in the body of Masonry. You promise a regular attendance on the committees of the communications of the Grand Lodge on receiving proper notice, and to pay attention to all the duties of Masonry on convenient occasions. You admit that no new lodge should be formed without permission of the Grand Lodge, and that no countenance should be given to any irregular lodge or to any person therein clandestinely initiated, being contrary to the ancient charges of the order. You admit that no person can be regularly made a Mason in or admitted a member of any regular lodge without previous notice and due inquiry into his character. You agree that no visitors shall be received into your lodge without due examination and producing proper vouchers of their having been initiated in a regular lodge. These are among the ancient charges and regulations of free and accepted Masons, and to these your assent must be freely given. Do you submit to these charges and promise to support these regulations as masters have done in all ages before you?
I do.
Then, my brother, in consequence of this assurance and with full confidence in your capacity and zeal, I will now install you Master of Escalon Lodge number 591. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will invest him with the jewel of his station. The square, my brother, is an emblem of morality, and it is the especial badge of the Master's office. It should constantly remind you that not only by precept, but by example, you should promote good morals among the brethren, and thus endeavor to avert the shadow of any scandal or reproach against the fraternity. Your former life has given evidence that this jewel will not be an unmeaning symbol in your hands, and I solemnly charge you to take good care that its luster be not dimmed through any act of yours. I now present to you the Book of Holy Writings.
Sorry.
On the altar. It is the great light in Masonry and should ever be the great law of the brotherhood. It will guide you to all truth. It will direct you to eternal happiness. And an attentive regard to the divine precepts it contains will ensure you success in the fulfillment of the duties you are now about to assume. The working tools of the craft will next be presented to you, that as the master workman you may instruct the craftsmen in the various duties and virtues which they have been selected to illustrate. The square teaches us well to regulate our every action and to let our conduct be governed by the principles of morality and virtue. The compass teaches us to limit our desires in every station and never to suffer our passions or our prejudices to become the masters of our judgment. The rule directs the undeviating discharge of all our duties, that we should press forward in the straight path of right and truth without inclining to the one hand or the other, in all our doings having eternity in view. The plum is an emblem of moral rectitude. It teaches us to avoid all dissimulation and to pursue that honest and upright course in life which will tend to our elevation in the higher realms of immortality. There are still other important things which you will receive in charge. This book of constitutions you are expected diligently to search, and from time to time to cause its contents to be read in your lodge, that none may remain ignorant of the precepts it enjoins or of the ordinances which it promulgates. This book contains the bylaws of your lodge, which it will be your especial duty to see duly and punctually executed. And this is the charter, under the authority of which your lodge is held, and which you are carefully to preserve and duly transmit to your successor in the master's chair. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will conduct the master to his station in the east.
Worshipful sir.
I congratulate you on your ascension to this time-honored seat. The duties incumbent upon you in your exalted station are fraught with grave responsibilities. Remember that the honor, reputation, and usefulness of your lodge will materially depend upon the skill and assiduity with which you manage its concerns, and that the welfare and happiness of its members will be generally promoted in proportion to the watchful care with which you cherish the genuine principles of our institution. For a pattern of imitation, consider the great luminary of nature which, rising in the east, regularly diffuses light and luster to all within its circle. In like manner, it is your province to spread and communicate light and instruction to the brethren of your lodge. Forcibly impress upon them the dignity and high importance of Masonry, and seriously admonish them never to disgrace it. Charge them to practice out of the lodge those duties which they have been taught in it, and by amiable, discreet, and virtuous conduct, to convince mankind of the goodness of this institution, so that when a person is said to be a member of it, the world may know that he is one to whom the burdened heart may pour out its sorrow, one to whom distress may prefer its suit, one whose hand is guided by justice and whose heart is expanded by benevolence. In short, by a diligent observance of the bylaws of your lodge, the constitutions of Masonry, and above all, the Holy Scriptures, which are given as the rule and guide of your faith, you will be enabled to acquit yourself of the highest honors here and lay up a crown of rejoicing which will continue when time shall be no more. Brothers senior and junior wardens, you are too well acquainted with the principles of Masonry to warrant any distrust that you will be found wanting in the discharge of your respective duties. Suffice it to say that what you have found praiseworthy in others, you should yourselves carefully imitate. And what in them may have appeared defective, you should yourselves avoid. You should be examples of discretion and propriety, for it is only by a due regard for our laws and regulations, as shown in your own conduct, that you can expect obedience to them from others. You are assiduously to assist the master in the discharge of his trust, diffusing light and imparting knowledge to all whom he shall place under your care. In absence of the master, you will succeed to higher duties. Your acquirements must therefore be such as will ensure proper instruction to the craft. From the spirit with which you have hitherto evinced, I entertain no doubt that your future conduct will be such as will merit the applause of your brethren and the testimony of a good conscience. Brethren of Escalon Lodge number 591, such is the nature of our Constitution, that as some must of necessity rule and teach, so must others of course learn to submit and obey. Humility in both is an essential duty. The officers of this lodge have been chosen to govern, are sufficiently conversant with the rules of propriety and the laws of this institution to avoid exceeding the power with which they are entrusted. And you are of too generous disposition to envy their preferment. I therefore trust that you will have but one aim, to please one another and unite in the grand design of promoting happiness. Finally, my brethren, as this association has been formed and perfected in so much unanimity and concord, so may it long continue. May you long enjoy every satisfaction and delight which friendship can afford. May kindness and brotherly affection distinguish your conduct as men and as Masons. Within your peaceful walls, may your children's children celebrate with joy and gratitude the annual recurrence of this auspicious solemnity. And may the tenets of our profession be transmitted through this lodge, pure and unimpaired, from generation to generation. Worshipful Master, it now remains for me to present to you the gavel, the emblem of power. In the hands of the Master, it may be made the instrument of great good or of greater evil. With it the Master governs his lodge, and the welfare and prosperity of your lodge will in a great measure depend upon its judicious use. In your hands, I am confident it will be wielded with the best interests of your brethren. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will make proclamation.
Grand Lodge, California. I hereby proclaim the officers of Escalon Lodge number 591 duly installed.
All the brethren will, under the direction of the Master of Ceremonies, salute the worshipful Master by a battery of 3 times 3.
Together, brethren.
Worshipful Master, behold your brethren. Brethren, behold your Master.
Across the nation at this very moment, everything the men and women of our greater Masonic family chose to stand behind, work towards, and live for is truly under attack. We live in an unprecedented day and age where we are surrounded by hatred, selfishness, and lies. Hatred so strong that our society will exploit the smallest of details to build entire false representations around. Selfishness so abounding that seemingly no one can see past their own desires long enough to come to consensus on any issue. And lies so rampant that we are now told routinely to accept even the lies people will tell themselves. All fraternities are bound by their common factors: attending the same college, pursuit of the same career, military and veteran statuses, service to a shared community, etc. As Freemasons and members of a greater Masonic family, we are bound by the more noble and glorious purpose of utilizing the tools given to us to make ourselves the better fitted stones complementing the entire building mass of society. This pursuit of character and morality places us at the forefront of this very old battle between good and evil. Our nation seems to be reeling from one victory of evil after another. And while good has had its triumphs too, they seem to be a little less common today than they were in days past. But between the uprising of evil and the continuance of good in our society stand lodges and organizations just like this one, filled with men and their families, Eastern Star women and their families, and all the different members of our greater Masonic families, standing guard at the very front line of this war in our own communities. And filled with men like I am now so humbled to be called to lead. Warriors on this front line fighting this evil we speak of right here in our own community through our own conduct. And while this battle can be discouraging at times, I wish for all present to take heart, for there is no greater a warrior on this front line than the Mason in the lodge. The Mason in the lodge is tempered. He demonstrates calm when others around him are failing to do so. He is slow to anger and quick to ease the anger building in others. He does not fall into today's trends of overreacting. The Mason in the lodge is just. He seeks the fair and equal treatment of all, whether it is in the receiving of credit and reward or the carrying out of consequences for actions requiring correction. He backs the full atonement of wrongs done and is unabashed in seeking reconciliation when he finds that he has made an error. The Mason in the lodge is discerning. He doesn't jump to conclusions, and he's quick to seek as much information as can be attained before deciding upon a course of action. He takes care to keep company that will only complement his journey toward enlightenment, and he avoids those who would bring him down. The Mason in the lodge is dependable. He is there whenever he can be, and pursues being known by his actions over his words. He ensures that he does what he commits to, and does not commit beyond his capabilities. The Mason in the lodge is decisive. He does not shy away from making tough decisions, nor does he place his responsibilities onto others. He takes charge and uses what he can to plan, executing as soon as is possible and wise. The Mason in the lodge is honest. He tells the truth in all things, honors all things charged to him, and keeps his word. His word is all at once the best offensive weapon and defensive reputation a man can have. The Mason in the lodge is enthusiastic. While keeping in due bounds, he is not shy about his passions, and willingly and freely shares with those who wish to share in his pursuits and zeal. He does not shadow excitement or joy found in doing well. The Mason in the lodge is unselfish. He places everything within his capability ahead of his own needs and desires. And when the time comes to care for himself, he does so, knowing that it better prepares him to help another tomorrow. He misses not the opportunity to improve any element of another's life within his capability. The Mason in the lodge is courageous. He never shies away from the good fight. He has the bravery to stand where others will not. He has the wisdom to choose the path that lets him continue fighting, even if it must be on another day. The Mason in the lodge is loyal. He stands by his causes, remains at the side of his brothers and family, and ensures he is known in reputation as a faithful companion. The Mason in the lodge is patriotic. He has the wisdom to learn from history and knows that the strongest of nations is built from the sweat of the brow and the callous of hand. He knows when he sees the flag of this country that it is more than just a piece of fabric representing what we once were or currently are, but is a beacon of hope for all we can become. Most importantly, the Mason in the lodge is humble. He knows that he is nothing without those who have built into him. He knows that arrogance is the root of all selfishness and regards himself above no one. With men such as these in our communities, what may look like an unwinnable battle is truly being fought every day by upright actions and well-placed pursuit of character. I have faith in tomorrow because I have faith in the Mason in the lodge. As I embark on this journey, an important day in my life, I would not be here if it were not for my wife. So for all this year and the hard work it composes, I present to you these dozen red roses.
Thank you. In honor of this moment and all previous travel, I recognize your new position with this wooden gavel, a symbol of authority to adorn your walls, which I give knowing that I still have the jar containing your